listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Boardwalk Empire After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Boardwalk Empire After Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV Boardwalk Empire. I'm your host, Keven Undergaro.
Co-hosting with Eboni K. Williams.
And thank God I have Eboni K. Williams.
Yes, I'm so happy to be
Bethany,
here.
sick tonight. Sarah booked a national commercial.
Woohoo!
Sorry for Bethany. Happy for Sarah.
Yes.
And I am like, on behalf of our fans, so happy you're here.
Oh, happy to be here, guys.
Because, we've had many, many requests for you to help us with the history.
My heart beats still.
And certainly because there's no way I'd be able to, this would be a near impossible show to do alone.
Yeah, so much happened. It was awesome.
My goodness. Well, every week there's just so much happening, so many characters, and there's just so much history and so many things to keep track of. And anyway, I say it every week, but another great episode. I loved it.
Yes,
I actually don't believe I've seen a bad episode of this show.
Would you say, Kevin, overall this season's just a little bit better than last season?
Yeah, okay. Yes, for the day-to-day. However, I felt like we got so beat up all of those episodes just to have the most amazing season finale that I've ever seen, next to season 4 Breaking Bad's season finale, and then of course the series finale of Breaking Bad I loved, and I would say that was on par with that. But I don't think we could have had such a great finale last year if we didn't have such rough episodes to get us
making sense
there.
Yep.
Now, that being said, yes, this season is
just incredible.
It's incredible, and I like that it's not just one note. Yeah. It's not just everyone's life going into the crapper and going out of control. There's, I'm finding myself cheering different weeks, being yelling and being upset at other weeks, being sad.
Right.
It's given me everything.
It's been fantastic. I'm so excited. Yeah, I can't wait. I think we got 3 episodes left, and I can't even begin to fathom. Because honestly, to me, they could do a season finale next week. So it's actually exciting to me that we've got 3 more episodes.
It's really scary because, and some of our fans have pointed out on YouTube that, we're heading into, after this is the Depression and World War II. We know the roaring 20s was the party, and then the 30s was the hangover, and then after the hangover, we were met with the war.
Yep.
And so things didn't really get great for us again, at least in terms of fun, until the 50s.
Right.
So, it does. Yeah, I hope the ensuing seasons aren't just it going further and further out of control until, like, say, Nucky goes to jail. But, yeah, I get most scared because they're spending so much money.
They are. These shots were beautiful.
Yeah, the sets and the costumes.
Clothes. Wow.
And so I get nervous with that. That really concerns me.
Well, I think we're going to get 2 more seasons. That's just my prediction. I think they'll go 6.
Okay. Well,
thinking about HBO, that's kind of normally what about they do.
Well, they don't get Sopranos numbers. And it's, if this was an AMC show and we were getting the numbers that Breaking Bad or Walking Dead gets, maybe we'd have a shot at more, but I just cringe because I enjoy it, but at the same time I cringe because I say to myself, how are we going to pay for all this?
Yeah, no, you've been saying that since season 2.
Yeah, I know.
It's a valid point, though. It is. All right, this is fun.
Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start out with our favorite friend, Chalky. And we're making wedding plans. Had a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are resident history expert.
I suppose. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So last week I was mentioning, it might have been last week, the week before. I'm sorry, guys. It's always a blur. But I was saying the first crack den. Now, I know it's not called crack den, and there's no crack. It's a heroin den.
Yeah, sure.
I was making reference to the fact that in the future we're going to see that.
In the 80s, we see that, yeah.
And I was just talking about how this show mirrors what goes on today.
Sure.
With a lot of things in the past, and sometimes things are so different, but yet they're very much the same. So when we see college back then, it reminded me of college today. But we had fans say, you sure it was like that? Well, no one can say.
Right.
But I'd like to think that because they've done just the way they handled John Adams, HBO, and it seems like the way they're handling the show, it seems that we're getting...
I think that was absolutely pretty historically. I mean, because it really actually makes sense when you think about it, Kevin. Normally, people that engage in that type of high-end or intense drug use, they do it in that type of. It's a socialized drug. I mean, that's not uncommon. So to me, that rings very consistent.
And it would seem as though this was the beginning of it.
Right.
So it was somewhat luxurious. Now it's completely, 70 years later, it's and the fact that they've made it cheaper, more accessible. That's why heroin and crack is so popular,
drug,
because it's so cheap. That being said, looking at Chalky's house, beautiful. And all that stained glass
windows. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
What were there African Americans back then who had that kind of affluence?
Absolutely. The black elite, we've talked about this unrelated to the show, Kevin. There's an untold story in this country, and I'm waiting for either a series or a movie or something.
Let's do it. Seriously.
No, it's fascinating. And I do, you're right. I mean, I'm well versed in this stuff.
I knew that there was black elite in terms of education.
No, in terms of money. In terms of money.
That's what I want to hear about.
Madam C.J. Walker, the first black woman millionaires. I mean, she invented...
What are we doing?
I don't know.
All right, we're developing this. Why did we even give it out?
Okay.
Mackenzie in the booth, you edit this. Seriously, okay, but so this is
real talk. Yes, this is totally predicated.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
why buried?
I know.
But why? Why do you think historically so buried?
Because that's what we do with cultural groups in this country. We put them in two dimensions, and then if we don't, as black people, tell our own stories, oftentimes they are buried and they're not told, and people aren't aware. So we're on it.
Or they get into the flashy stories, the Hollywood, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about the black elite. In many elite parts of the culture, they're very private.
But by the way, old money, blue bloods in America,
be that way.
Same thing.
Yes.
Very private. You don't get in.
Yeah, it's gated.
You have a good chance. You can marry in a nouveau riche. Very hard to marry in a blue blood. I didn't grow up with any of them, but I remember with times. There was a golf course near me, and then I caddied on, and I saw glimpses of it. And then later in life, I saw a lot of the blue bloods, and I realized it was a whole other world.
Yeah, it's a whole other
And you're not allowed in, and they're very hush-hush, but that's why they maintain.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that the black elite would be
it's a small
hush-hush,
community.
because they want to...
very exclusive.
That's how they keep what they have.
Yeah.
And interesting. Okay, so... Nucky's wife, Chalky's wife knows what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Cold as ice. Yep.
And the kid playing piano, very interesting. In 3 weeks, he picked it up.
Yep. Very talented young man. And even that, the fact that first of all, that they own a piano, that he's playing it, again, it coincides with the exclusivity. That is for instance, I don't come from that either, Kevin, but my mother made sure, even as a single parent with no formal education of her own, that I was in piano lessons because she wanted me to have access to that
your
world.
Mother was amazing.
Absolutely.
I found it interesting. I'm talking about Chalky suits every week.
Yeah.
And did you notice that there was an upgrade with the suit?
Yep.
He even showed it off. But it was still, the first time I saw it, I thought it was just all gray. And then as the episode went on, I saw it was a plaid, but thin, right?
Yes,
subtle
quieter,
plaid.
yeah.
Not the loud plaid browns we've seen him in,
right?
That make him look sillier.
Right. I was gonna say this was more refined for this elite family that his daughter is also married.
And I'm grateful because I'm thinking, okay, he's growing, and I We will. I'm looking at our board. We're going to talk about his meeting with Chalky. God, why? I guess I started out wrong. Look, I screwed up the board. I'm getting no from the booth. We should have started out talking
You
about
want to start
Nucky.
with Gillian? Do you want to start with Gillian?
And Gillian, I totally forgot about Gillian. Okay, yes. So I apologize, fans. I don't know why I did that.
Because you're just excited.
I am excited. 'Cause he's my favorite. Chalky's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Let's get Gillian out of the way.
Yeah.
She's clean. She's in the sunlight.
Yes.
Okay. She's been this vampire.
Yes.
All strung out in her like little
Gaunt.
cocoon
Yeah.
cave, whatever. And now she's out on the boardwalk. She's getting some sun, and we even see a little. I thought I noticed some tan on her face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some colorfulness to her face.
Yes.
I thought, healthy. And we see her falling, well, looks like she's falling madly in love. And I remember it was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, excuse me, fans, that we were talking about this. It was just you, I, and Sarah, I believe. And we were predicting, is Gillian going to actually open up to this guy in a way that matters? And she did it.
This is what's interesting.
Yeah.
Is that I was saying we're going to see Gillian 2.0, meaning she's just kind of cleaned up and a more powerful sicko. But now I'm not so sure because she did exactly what you're supposed to do when you get healthy, which is she starts telling him this story, and I'm thinking she's making up a fantasy about her and her son, right? And then we find out that, oh my goodness, she's admitting to him that at the age of 12, she was brutally raped by the Commodore. She conceived Jimmy, and then she named Jimmy after this freckled hair guy that, smoked 3 cigarettes that lucky she sold him.
The last pure thing she could remember,
Yeah, and that was the moment in her life where it all went bad, but the fact that she's owning up to this and admitting it, it's like she's telling this guy, Roy, let's get started the right way.
Let's start on a real foundation without the shame that that she normally carries with everything, because that's why she makes up stories and has been
by the way,
so complicated.
I see this all the time in life. If people would just have the courage to look in the mirror and say, here's where I screwed up. Obviously, this is harder because she was violated by somebody else. Like this is not her fault. But when you take the time to be honest with yourself and with other people, it hurts. But things will get better. When you don't, and you just keep shooting more heroin, and that could be in the form of buying yourself gifts, just going through relationships, whatever it is.
Self-medicating.
Yeah, self-medicating.
Yeah.
So I love that she's having this moment.
Yeah.
We take her into court, and just when we think it's going to be, I thought it was going to be a slam dunk that she was not going to get the child. No. They're very concerned that she is the blood relation.
Yes.
And the judge is very concerned that Julia doesn't make much money with her dad.
Yes.
Or we know the bulk of it's made by her father.
Right.
Who we know is terminally ill.
Exactly.
So I want to save Richard because let's wrap Gillian.
But I will say, I want to make just to put my lawyer hat on for 1 second with the custody hearing. It's funny because a lot of people presume that that's the way the law still works, is that there's a bias towards blood relative. And that's actually not always the case. I just want to put that out there.
But what about back then?
Back then, it very well could have been. In most jurisdictions was, because even up until very recently, some jurisdictions will still favor that. But now most laws are very, whatever the best interest of the child is, regardless of blood relation. Right. But certainly historically, there's precedent there that will go in favor of blood.
Right.
So just interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think the way the judge left it, we have a month and it's 50-50. That's what it seemed like to me.
And I would even say 75-25, Kev. I think the judge was like, more or less, the court has a bias towards blood relatives. So unless you can overcome, because that's how the court thinks, unless you overcome the presumption with clear and convincing evidence, a la, we are married now, we've got better finances, we got a more stable environment. You got to overcome the court's presumption. And
it makes sense writing-wise, too.
Yep.
That's better writing, I think. And the kind of knee to the groin was that Roy is being shady on the phone.
So shady. And it's sad because, Gillian's like take or leave from me, but I've come more endeared towards her this season because of the things you pointed out. We see her being honest. We see her opening up. We see her being vulnerable. And she's come back from a heroin addiction, which we've said on the show, not easy to do at all. Odds are stacked against her. She's overcoming some really big odds here just to have this guy be super shady now.
Mr. Piggly Wiggly. Okay, so my just knee jerk was that he's got a wife at home, but that's too easy. So what do you? So you had the better take.
No, it sounded like, I don't know if they're trying to take Gillian's home. There's something, I think, conspiring. Or
but he
something.
got her sober.
Yeah.
That's what's weird.
Yeah.
He gets her sober.
What does he want? We got to figure out what he wants from her. Yeah, I don't know what he wants from her.
You would think he'd want her to be vulnerable.
Right.
Unless it's something more twisted. Now remember, she's a Black Widow. She's killed a lot of people. Right? So think about if this is some kind of sick
Revenge.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, do you want her at full power for when you torture her? I don't know what the story is, but
Yeah, but now we know he's not to be trusted.
no.
That's clear. Yeah.
No. We see a beautiful moment with Richard and Julia, and speaking to the power of women on the show. So it's a great point you mentioned that Gillian, you know, as I've said, 7% or less beat heroin addiction. And this is amazing that this woman who was raped, and raped at the age of 12, no less, has now buried her son, is having the strength to beat the heroin. And at the same time, we see Julia talk to Richard and try to get out of him what's going on. What's up with my dad? You know, why are you guys talking? And she basically starts beating around the bush about, well, not beating around the bush, talking about the fact that she needs to be married.
Yeah, she flat out proposes to Richard, and it was really, really cute. I loved her line, too, because it was so true to what a woman would say today.
Don't make this uncomfortable.
Say something now, or this is really awkward.
But what I found was interesting was that when he said yes, she did not say, will you marry me?
Right.
But it was because of the time.
Right.
But by that yes, the subtext was her proposing to him.
Absolutely.
Which was awesome.
He says, yes, I'm saying yes. Like, it was just so sweet.
Right? It was just sweet, and it was the power. Again, we're seeing women in power here. And when he goes to hold her hand getting the marriage license.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And I got nervous when he said a hunting license.
No, he's being cute. He was being cute there because, you know, on the door it was like marriage and hunting license. And then she's like, are you sure about this? Which, you know, certainly I can attest to, you know, pre-wedding jitters. Even though they have a very specific purpose they're going for with this wedding, you're still getting married. She's like, are you sure? And I thought that was him kind of being coy and cute. Like, it's just a hunting license, right? No big deal. And then he reaches for a hand. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
We're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was nervous that the subtext was like, oh, no.
No. That's because, you know, that was the episode, the title of the episode, Marriage and Hunting License. It's a Marriage and Hunting, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, so cute.
It's very interesting because we see Richard go back to see Nucky.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, I'm just so happy that he'll be back on the payroll because Nucky's going to need him.
Nucky totally needs him.
So, but that's why I just wonder if hunting doesn't fit in where he's now.
Well, there is that too.
He's the return to being a hunter.
Hunter, yeah. The thing about Richard is because it's not just. He's not like selfish in his nature. He'll do the hunt. We know he's capable of the dirty work, but he's got to have purpose behind it. Maybe not all that unsimilar to Van Alden in that way.
We're going to talk about him last because it was like, wow, like we've waited since season 1 to see this guy again.
Come back. So cool. That was cool.
Okay, moving on to Nucky.
Okay.
Just real quick, kind of ending the episode with him calling Sally, which I didn't really felt like it fit this episode.
I think that was only to set us up for the things that we're going to see next week.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, because it just seemed weird. We didn't see her the whole episode. He's dealing with all these other issues. I don't know, a little late night call.
A little bit. Well, like a little, we call it caking, and that's what the millennials can call it sometimes.
Caking?
Yeah, little caking.
Caking is what? Were you laying down the groundwork or what?
Yeah, just kind of, like, it's like if you're out with your boys and all of a sudden if you're just on the phone with Maria the whole time and they're like, oh, Kevin's fucking cake. Ooh.
You're caking.
Oops, excuse me, caking. Yeah.
All right, so you're caking?
Yep.
So, he's caking. She's sleeping with a shotgun.
Yes.
Well, because she stepped her game up now.
Yeah.
You know, the stakes are a lot higher for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his That's his lady.
And she's, as every woman almost, except for the one last season that Nucky's ever involved himself with, he picks women who are very savvy in that way and can be useful to him outside of the bedroom.
Ever since season 1.
Yep.
You know, he's always, you're right, he's always gone for the smart ones. Rothstein. And
Oh, gosh, yeah.
very interesting. Rothstein has an interesting conversation with his number one guy. How come you never gamble? And that's interesting that guy doesn't gamble. So I wonder if that's going to pay off at some point.
That he doesn't, probably.
The fact that guy doesn't gamble.
Probably.
Interesting, right? We'll have to keep that in mind. If that guy's offered some kind of deal or whatever, we always have to remember he doesn't gamble.
He doesn't have the stomach for it, so.
Oh, he doesn't have some for it, even better. And then Rothstein says, I always thought, he asked him, he starts saying first bet he made was at 8. He won $32. And I'm looking at my notes.
I think he said something about, like, I think the guy goes, oh, you were a lucky little boy. Then he said, I used to be, or I thought I was.
Used to think so.
Yeah, used to think so. That's what it was.
And so that's interesting because now he's hurting a little bit for money. He talks about the land deal or a land deal. I don't know, and who knows? Nothing that comes out of his mouth is going to be honest.
Right.
It's interesting that when he goes to meet with Nucky knows immediately he's hurting for money.
Yeah, why else are you trying to sell an insurance policy? Oh, my gosh.
It was crazy because I was a little stunned how fast
Nucky was to off
gave
Mickey
him
Doyle.
up. Do you think it's because of him flirting with Sally or no? It's
No, I just think Nucky's always been incredibly annoyed by Mickey Doyle, as we all are, and this is, like he said, just an easy fix. It's like not to the point where Nucky would just be like, I'm going to kill him, but you want to take care of him? Great, awesome. Why not?
And even go, and I love how Rothstein never gets his hands dirty, so he's like, well, I'll just sell it to you.
How about just sell you the policy? Yeah,
20 cents on the dollar.
Yep.
What was the name of the insurance company? Rothmeyer?
Yeah, he's one of my affiliates or whatever.
Was it Rothstein and Meyer Lansky, maybe?
Oh, man, that's interesting. Do you think we're going to lose Rothstein next season?
He's got to go at some point.
Yep.
I mean, again, I don't want to be a spoiler because we don't know this officially, so it's not officially a spoiler, but we know in history he does perish at early in life. So we'll see. He's a great character, but he's definitely showing his weaknesses.
He's losing his steam. Yeah, we've been seeing that all season. Okay.
And it's interesting because Doyle's always been able to dodge the bullet. So it'll be interesting to see if he can. Again,
I think he can again, because that's just him.
It's just him.
Always gets out.
He's such an amazing weasel.
Yes, yeah.
Let's talk about the Chalky Nucky meeting. I always love their meetings. I love their relationship.
I don't think Nucky loves it so much right now.
No. Well, Nucky always knows what's up, and he's saying, get your business in order, or keep your, whatever the line was. But he was calling him out for his crush on this girl, and he thinks it's poisoning his relationship. And I was saying, oh, really, Nucky? Like, you're saying it?
Absolutely.
But I loved that Chalky came right back at him and goes, basically, what was last season all about, Nucky? Like, that's all you ever did.
And I saved your behind from it or whatever. And Nucky really resents that. And we see that. Basically, he says it to Chalky's face, like, we're even. Let's be clear about that. Yeah. And then he brings it back up at the end of the episode when he's talking to Eli. Yeah. He really resents feeling indebted to Chalky White. It's very uncomfortable for him.
Yeah.
Very. And I wonder how much of that, I don't know. I'll save that. But yeah, he's very, very bothered by that.
I still bet on those two guys.
I do too. And I think Narcisse is going to make it easy for Chalky and Nucky to get back on one accord.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Eli, he shows up, and it's interesting that Nucky was even asking his advice. I don't know if I recall that in a while.
No. And I think he was doing it, honestly, consciously. I don't think he really cared what Eli had to say about it. I think it was an act of goodwill. I think Nucky knows the thing with Willie didn't sit well with Eli, and that they're on kind of some fragile ground there, brother-wise.
So he's making him feel good that, okay, yeah.
I value you, I see you.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. And it's really hard to see Eli now because I
you know what's coming.
I didn't like the Eli that was angry and bitter and jealous. That Eli, I was liking the Eli that got on the same page with him, and I feel like the old Eli is going to come back now because we didn't. We talked about it last week, but. Yeah. And obviously, we know him next week. We're going to see more of it. That he's cut some kind of deal with Knox.
Yep.
That's the Eli I don't like.
But can you blame him?
No, he's got to protect his son.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's such a tough position. He has to
protect his son.
Yeah.
I get it. I just didn't like. Here's what I don't like about it. I wish. I don't feel that there's any remorse. If there was remorse, like, oh my God, I have to pick between my brother and my son, and I'm obviously going to pick my son, then I'd probably be more okay with it. But the fact that he is back to that, he's angry about it.
Yeah.
It seems like he's almost going to like putting the dagger into him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what bothers me. Okay, let's get back to talking about Chalky and he's planning the wedding. And next thing you know, the amazing, creepy scene between Narcisse and Daughter Maitland. And by the way, the Daughter Maitland once again sang, but they cut off quickly. So I was happy about that. It was nice. It's just enough to open the scene.
Yeah.
And then we got right into Chalky and Nucky meeting, but it wasn't the long song.
Kevin loves when Daughter Maitland sings.
Yeah, no, just too much. No, you know what?
It's so funny.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, an amazing...
Yeah.
And creepy conversation.
He's so utterly, paralyzing when he's on the screen. I just can't look away, even though he's...
How does he not win an Emmy?
I know. This is just his... And he's always amazing, but this might be some of his best work. Yeah, so I guess I was so confused about the nature of their real relationship up until that scene.
Really? What confused you?
I don't know. Just if he was really truly if it was based in a romantic type of love, or if it was more what's the syndrome where you just kind of become obsessed with your captor?
Stockholm.
But now I feel like it was clear he's in love with her and reserved her love for him, and she betrayed that, and that's why she got beat down.
And can we talk parallels with Commodore and Gillian? Right? Same thing.
Yeah.
The agreement was that she could sleep around. She could give her body to other men, but not
never
her heart.
And he knows that she's now in love with
When he saw the shards of glass and he did a thorough investigation of the crime scene, he realized that...
it was her.
Yes, that she's so... and she's beat, and I can't believe he didn't kill her.
No, because I think maybe you're right. I think maybe he is slightly using it but he can use that to his advantage in terms
I was so afraid it was the Sonny Corleone moment where they had Carlo purposely beat up the Sonny's sister and Michael's sister. So Sonny would be, be a maniac, go out and try to fix things, and then, they'd blow him away. So that's what I was nervous about.
Yeah, I think, God, it's so sad.
But why? But that didn't happen.
Well, maybe because he really is in love with her and doesn't want her dead. Maybe he thinks he can get her back. If he eliminates Chalky White, well, he can in his mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Backing up a little bit, I can't wait. I hope there is a sit down between he and
Masseria, yeah.
And how crazy the discussions about the Jews and the Libyans must remain pliable.
Yeah, I want to take a moment here because this gave me great insight this episode to Narcisse, because we've talked a bit about the show, and this has been something that's kind of piqued my curiosity. How does he justify it? How does he justify destroying your community? At the same time, I do feel like he genuinely feels like I got my answer this week. He said it to Daughter Maitland, the things I do to stand up and look my equals in the face. That's his justification. He sells heroin to his community. People get strung out and die, and he's seeing all this, and he does it so that he can sit at that table. He does it so he can walk into that club, sit at the table with Nucky Thompson, not care who's looking at him, because he's earned the right by betraying his people.
Oh.
That's what it was. That's in his mind, that's the rationality.
I felt like when she responded by saying, "You don't have to do that. You don't have to prove."
And that's why he's crazy, Kevin, because he doesn't really believe it. He believes that this is the only way. This is the only way to get respect. That's why he wants the meeting with Masseria. He wants to be at that table.
And when I first heard about the Masseria meeting, I said, "Oh my God, Masseria is just—he's so racist, and he's that's ultimately, I think, what's going to do him in is the fact that he won't work with other
He
races.
discriminates completely,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's ultimately going to be his demise. That being said, is he going to go by the friend of my enemy? Right, the enemy of my friend is also, what is it? The friend of my
Whatever.
I'm
the
sorry.
point is, they think the same way,
right? And no, they both hate Nucky.
They do. They both hate Nucky.
They're both going to hate Nucky, so they can work together.
And they both hate Nucky and Chalky working together. So it's perfect.
So I think, with 3 episodes left, Narcisse could survive this season and not be like the one and done like Jip was. Maybe.
It'll be interesting. It could happen.
Because if he gets with Masseria,
or he could go away, because it looks, I mean, not to get too much into predictions, but, well, we'll save it for predictions.
Right.
But yeah.
it's going to be interesting. Let's get to the point where Narcisse does sit down with Nucky and comes into the bar, the club.
Front of house.
And I have to say,
big no-no.
Big no-no. But I have to say this. This is why this show is amazing. You know, one of the things I always love about Breaking Bad is it was gray. It wasn't black and white. It wasn't good versus evil.
Right.
It always had you scratching your head. And just like tonight, where I feel like Nucky has a good side to him, he basically sells out Doyle like he's nothing. And at the same time, when Narcisse sat there and everyone gave him a problem, now I was upset. I felt for Narcisse, and I felt his side of the story when he sat there.
Yeah.
Then it was like, that's not a guy that I never had that moment with Jip. Jip, I was like, no, this guy has to die.
Right, because he was just a pure sociopath, absolutely. Versus Narcisse, I'm telling you, this was such a moment for me. I'm like, oh, I get it now. And that, I could sit here and say a very popular person in our current, to your point, Kevin, of modern day parallels, who in some way is doing something similar in terms of, some would say, selling out your people in a really messed up way so that you can sit at the table and, in his world, and maybe true, be a change agent in another capacity. It's very interesting. Whether that's worth it, I don't know.
No, I know. But I felt, in that moment, I felt bad for him. I didn't like that. You know, I felt bad, and I was like, ugh, whereas I never for Jip. It was like, no, kill this guy. It was terrible, and just a reminder of what it was like. And, you know, I just love, I feel like Nucky, if you can make him money, that's like I like Rothstein too. Like they don't care. If you're making money, they're good. They don't mind. It doesn't matter what you are.
No. But you can't cause problems, though. I will say that. Nucky definitely gave him some side eye, only because you're causing a problem.
Right.
Yeah,
well, it's like, do you know what you're doing? This is bad for our business.
Yeah.
But he sat there and he was so comfortable in the seat. Well, you know, he wasn't comfortable. He was firm. He was in it. You know, he wasn't comfortable. He actually looked like he was being challenged, but he was tough.
Because he's paid for it. He's got blood on his hands, Kevin. He paid for admission to sit in that seat with the blood of his people.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, amazing. And out comes Chalky.
Yep.
And before Chalky comes out, he basically tells Nucky, your boy's dead.
Yep.
And Nucky's trying to handle it. And out comes Chalky.
Can I just say that
Please.
I can't believe how naive Nucky has been like 2 or 3 times this season. You know, Chalky's like, Narcisse is behind it. Nucky's like, really? Are you sure? Come on, Chalky. You know.
No, overwhelmed with other problems.
Yeah, okay.
You know, he's got Tampa. He's got now his brother.
He doesn't care about it that much.
Yes, it's a smaller battle. Now it's going to be a bigger one because he did ignore it. It's going to be a bigger one. And long-term prediction is when Masseria gets together with
Narcisse.
Oh, yeah. Now, once again, my tag team of Chalky and Nucky are going to have to reunite.
Yep.
So it's, I don't know. It was something to see it ended like that, and you know, poor Chalky loses his temper, throws the table. Like he's the one that's reduced to being like a savage, you know, like
and that's the
brute.
class thing too, especially again within the black community. You know, you see Narcisse still sitting there, his nose kind of in the air, and Chalky's like,
I'm
"You
so Chalky, that's me.
mother effer."
That's me.
And and that's that distinction yet again.
It's so me in Hollywood. My God, I flipped the table. It's
the tantrum.
Yeah,
well, it's frustrating. It's emotional. It's real.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because they've got you.
Yeah.
You know, and we see Chalky with a very beaten daughter, Maitland.
Oh, gosh, yeah, he did a number on her. And apparently this is not new. That was kind of surprising to me. Whoever was kind of tending her bedside says basically this is the dynamic of their relationship.
That's why they didn't kill her. See, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why he didn't kill her, because he beats her down, and then it's like, okay, now you're gonna be a good dog.
Yeah, just like it's like a. Yeah, he's obsessed with her. Yeah, literally. She can't die. He's obsessed with her. He needs her.
God.
Yeah.
Well, now he's got his gun and he's ready to protect her. And in comes Maybelle. And I love how you don't want to hear from Maybelle.
I don't even want to hear what this young lady has to say, because here's the thing. Once again, nothing in this world is free. You live this luxurious, high on the hog life in a time where very few black Americans lived it. And I'm not saying that makes it right, but you know what time it is. You know what your father does to provide this lifestyle, and you also know that he's not the most faithful man. So why I don't understand this look of horror on her face when she sees like what's going on. Like,
girl, bye. Are you upset with the writing, or are you just upset with her character?
I'm upset with her character.
Gotcha,
I mean, I guess it only makes sense that a daughter would have some, but at the end of the
because young, spoiled.
That's it. That's why I'm annoyed with her. Spoiled, entitled. You know, he's got to pay for this some way. You're not complaining at your polished silver white wedding you're about to have. Come on, girl, wake up.
I got a couple of them running around here at AFTERBUZZ. A couple of those entitled
yeah.
kids. Yeah.
They slightly annoy me.
I think it's under 25. That's my big
Probably.
thing. That's everyone who works for me. Like, tell me I'm not a masochist. Okay. So now I've been so excited.
Yes. He's
to
back.
talk about Van Alden.
Yeah, he's back.
So speaking of becoming a hunter again, my God, where do we begin?
Well, we have to begin with his wife, because I thought that was funny.
Husband.
Yeah, she's so cute. And talking back a lot. And I actually, for a second, I was like, I hope Van Alden doesn't go off and smack this chick. But he does quite the opposite about it. He's one of those few men, because as a woman, I can tell you never know if that kind of pushy attitude, if that's going to play or is that going to totally backfire. But we know with Van Alden now, he likes it, turns him on, and motivates him.
Well, he's under the sink trying to tighten the pipes. And I thought briefly that this was a moment where, like, oh man, did we drop the ball on production design? We're usually so good, because I just always know renovations, and the parts were relatively new. Oh. So it was like new copper, and the spigots were new, and I was like, oh my God, well come on, did the prop people just go down to Home Depot and like
buy some new stuff?
And then I was reminded that by then looking at some other parts of the house, I was reminded that he's building this house. And back then, what was so great was that most of the men back then did build their houses.
Right.
It was still that.
My grandfather built their house.
Yeah, it was still that time. Around the turn of the century, it was the last of those guys who still built their own houses. And he get a nice crack about Sears and Roebuck.
That's sarcasm.
But you're right. She pushes him. She pushes him, and and a final crack about him not making money.
Yeah, which is, it was very emasculating. And again, you never know how a man's going to respond to being emasculated like that. That could play right into what you need him to do, or again, backfiring. If not violently, just make him be like, you know what, forget it. I'm just not going to do anything, because nothing ever pleases you anyway. Right. I've seen that too. So interesting.
And then off he goes to the Capones. He's all manhandled in there. And before he does that, we see the guy whose face he burned remembers him.
Yep.
So Capone and he jog back and forth, and it's interesting. He tells the guy, "Don't
hit me one more time."
One more time, and I was like, "Ooh, this is not George Mueller. That's a little bit of Van Alden. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
we know he's big. We know he's pretty fearless. We know he's somewhat psychotic.
Yep,
and we've seen him kind of be a bitch. since he became George Mueller.
Yeah.
He had this one moment when he snapped on the insurance company and he did the iron and then out the door he went. But for the most part, he's been
low key.
A punching bag.
Yep.
And he's like, I'll kill him.
Yeah.
And off he goes again. And
for the $1,000, by the way, that the wife specifically asked for.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Probably could have gotten more, too.
Yeah.
But just
she wants 1,000?
I'll get you the 1,000.
Yep.
And then he goes and the three guys from the insurance company start, or whatever the company he worked at, start beating him up. And even the boss, the boss was like, I don't know, you could just imagine like these guys at work having a few drinks after work, saying, "Yeah, we're gonna go kick his ass,"
right?
And the old boss being like, "Oh, don't mind if I don't get a few licks in,"
right?
And
no idea he was messing with.
No idea. Oh, and they're smacking him around, and you even see the boss do that put up dukes, with that old fighting style. Please, Mr. So-and-so, don't. And then what was the last thing he said?
He warned him, because he was like, don't, I don't know, stop it right now, don't hit me again, whatever. And then did you really think he was going to kill them, though? I thought he was just going to show the gun and be done.
No, I knew. I didn't know if they were going to kill, but I knew there was going to be an ass whooping.
Yeah.
And then when he pulled the gun out, it made me realize he probably has to kill them.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
But I knew whatever he had said, it was, if you're a fan of the old Incredible Hulk, Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You would not like me when I'm angry.
Right.
And as we say, the mask falls off, the George Mueller mask falls off, and now it's Van Alden. Mm-hmm. And bang, bang, bang. Yeah. Dead. And then he marches in. He does, and then you see he's back. At some point, he's back with O'Bannon. Mm-hmm. And O'Bannon starts needling him. Yep. And he turns around and, much like Gillian admitted everything.
Yeah, he owned it.
Again, this is where the great parallels in this, the parallel between Gillian and daughter Maitland, the parallel between Gillian admitting everything. Yeah. And now you see Van Alden admit everything to O'Bannon.
Mm-hmm. And even some stuff we didn't know. That was a revelation to me that he doesn't believe in anything anymore.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I used to believe, and I don't. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, this is why all I do is gush about the writing of this show.
It's so great.
But I've always said about a lot of people who are extremely religious, it's just sometimes just another extreme. It's not that they love any more than we do, are any more moral than we are. They're just extremists. And that happens to be their extreme. That's why you see a lot of addicts then get so wrapped up and born again in the Bible. It's just they're not any more moral than we are. They're just extremists. And if you happen to get their extremism focused on that, they're good with it. But then you could just as easily get them focused on the law, and then they're into that. Or if it's drugs, they're into that. Or if it's going to be making money for the wife, whatever. He's just an extremist.
He is.
And that whole religion thing, it just didn't quite work out. I don't believe anymore because the Lord has forsaken me.
Right.
I'm not interested in knowing why he did, and I don't have the faith to get me through it. So this is now Van Alden 2.0.
Yes, we are definitely seeing Van Alden 2.0.
This, so for him to, but before he even gets his, by the way, O'Bannon backs off.
Yeah.
Because I think he was in the moment, I don't know if he was impressed.
Yeah.
Now that impression could be he was fearfully impressed, he was scared, or he's like, hey, maybe this guy's more, he could be more useful to me than I thought, but whatever it was, he backs away.
Yeah. He put the fear of God into him.
Yeah. Do you think it was fear? Do you think he was afraid?
I think he was absolutely afraid.
That's so cool.
Yep.
And out he goes, and
I still don't know if that was according to plan, what you're about to say about how
I don't know. I don't know.
I almost think it maybe was a part of the plan because to me, Van Alden didn't look like, oh no, I messed up and Capone's going to come for me now. He kind of got the money and just got the hell out of there. But
so you think he made the plan with Capone?
Possibly.
So when Capone came to his house. And how do we,
I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll find out more next week. But he just didn't seem like, oh crap, you know, I was supposed to do this. Now how do I explain this? There was just no look of concern on his face other than, let me get these dollars.
I think the lead hitman we'll see again, too.
Yeah, 'cause he was great. He was charismatic.
Well, you know, very underrated TV movie, The Three Stooges. It was a biopic that Mel Gibson produced.
Wow.
About the Three Stooges. Michael Chiklis was Curly. And I forget who played.
Oh, it was
the guy
Sean
from,
Hayes.
No,
not
you're
that
thinking
one.
of, that's the
movie
feature
one.
film.
Oh, okay.
No, it was actually played by, oh my goodness, the agent on, and he was on, we've had him at AfterBuzz, the agent on Californication, Runkle.
Okay.
Played Larry, phenomenal. And the guy played Mo. Anyway, so I think he's a working actor, so we'll probably see more of him. But yeah, we see O'Banion, again, according to history, same thing, gets just riddled with bullets in his flower shop, and Van Alden walks out with his $1,000, and now he comes home and he's all proud. And you said something interesting. You gonna remember what you said?
Yeah, he made it rain. He made it rain on his wife.
He made it rain.
Yeah.
No, but you said something else. You said this is the first time.
Oh, I did say that. And it was true. Out of 4 seasons of seeing this man, this was the first time he looked attractive to me.
Right? He
was kind of glowing and tan and
just the T-shirt and the hair was a little unkempt, rather than just that kind of
tight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rather than that tight one.
Yeah, he just actually was attractive and I probably never will again. But in that moment, yeah.
Never, right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
And so he's back.
Yeah, better than before. Because I've never really been. I mean, I think he's a fascinating character, but I've never really been Team Van Alden. But I can get behind this guy.
Now I am. No.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cheered when he like took out the 3 guys.
Yeah.
I was okay. I never thought I'd be cheering for him. And I think that the fact that he's admitted that there's no God and I'm not into that anymore. I think he's just a full-on hitman.
Well,
to
he's kind of
his
proud
family.
of himself too. Yeah, I choked my partner with my bare hands. He needed to like tell you how I killed him. He's real.
and he's just off. And so this is going to be interesting now because I think he's going to be a Capone lackey and take us all the way to the rise of Capone.
Yeah, and then we've got Richard now back on board. Which remember we were always wondering, like we all knew Richard would find his way back to Nucky at some point, but we never knew how. And this was perfect.
They're just a great match.
Yep.
You know, we also I didn't mention, but please, guys, keep your stuff coming to iTunes and YouTube. We love it. I know someone else on YouTube, if you go to last week's episode and you read the comments, was talking about how Eddie's son could come back and be a part of this because in history there was a character involved in Nucky's life with that last name.
Oh, Eli's son, Willie. Well,
no, not Willie. No. Eddie. Now, you remember Eddie?
Eddie.
You know, now replaced by Sid. But, right. So, I don't know. Let's watch for it.
Interesting.
Let's watch for it. Mackenzie, I know you're in there trying to hold the booth down. Can you take us to predictions, or can I go? Should I go without it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Now, your AfterBuzz
Quietly.
TV predictions.
All right. I think next week is going to be as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be dealing with Lucky Luciano.
Yep.
Okay, and the fact that Nucky finds out from Sally that they're putting heroin in.
Putting heroin in the shipments.
Okay, and I think that's going to get Masseria's blood boiling, or something's going to be done to Masseria maybe where he's going to have to. I think it's going to reignite that war.
Yeah. For sure. And he's going to be more open to probably a conversation, at least with Narcisse.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We see Capone is going to continue to rise to power. We are going to have problems with Eli and Willie.
Yeah.
And by the way, we know now clearly, we guessed Eli and Knox working together. Now we know because we see them talk next week. You're doing something great for your family.
God, I hate Knox so bad.
What's going to be scary is, Willie. Now, did you see Willie's suit?
Yeah.
I mean, Willie's like really stepping up.
Yep.
And he says to father, this is what we do. So it's going to be really hard on Eli because I don't know if Knox can really spare that kid. And again, going to our iTunes and YouTube predictions, a lot of fans think Willie's a goner.
Ooh.
And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because what a great setup we can live without him. He's
he's disposable.
Yeah, I mean, it's faster than we could Eli. We've gotten to know Eli so long.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And at the end of the day, all Eli wants is Willie's respect anyway, which it looks like he's losing.
Yes.
Oh, and we're going to see Nucky be straight up with Narcisse. You can leave here on your feet or on your back.
Oh, that's what I mean.
It's so good.
And it's too early for them to be fighting him back. That's why I think this goes to next season.
Oh, I think
but
he
I don't
can.
know.
But maybe he'll leave town and then come back. What's going to be my prediction? Is he leaves on his feet to stage a major comeback.
With Masria. Okay, you guys.
Right.
Eboni K. Williams, where do we find you?
Find me on Twitter at Eboni_K. Also on my website, EboniKWilliams.com.
Nice. But you have to, tweet at her.
Tweet me, guys. I adore you.
It's amazing because this show would be so hard to do without you guys.
It's great.
Again, you're going to see with all the responses we get this week.
It's great.
This added so much. Please don't miss any more. 3 more weeks.
I do have to work, you know.
I know,
but I'm going to try my best.
All right.
It was great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We love you. And,
see you guys next week.
At Undergaro for me.
Yeah, right.
And, yeah, right. Why does everyone laugh at me? All right, you guys. We'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Eboni K. Williams.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.